Ever wonder what happens when you put a prompt into ChatGPT or your favorite chat assistant? I'm going to try it here live and see what happens. So I've got AI can help event planners, and I'm going to hit send. And depending on the Wi-Fi capacity on this forum, on this venue, kind of let me down yesterday. We'll see how it goes. While it's thinking, I do the same thing here again. Maybe some interpretive dance as we make connection to ChatGPT. Come on, you can do it. So anytime that you communicate, you put a prompt into ChatGPT or your AI assistant of the one that you prefer, you can see that what it does, it looks like it's typing the response out, tends to type a lot faster than what it does now. If people can stop downloading Netflix videos, that would be amazing. So it looks like it's typing the response out. I mean, if you know the answer, why not just drop it out and give it to me? So that's one question that I have for you. And the second question is, I asked the same question twice in the same session and the exact same question. And I get two different responses. Why is it that I ask the same question of the same engine twice in a row and I get two different responses? Let's dig into it a bit. This is going to be a little bit technical. Bear with me, it gets better. So what you're looking at here is called NanoGPT. NanoGPT is a transformer. This is not a large language model. This is a tiny little language model with 85,000 neurons. So typically, a large language model would have a lot more. Human brain has 85 billion neurons, so a million times more than this. This guy has 85,000 neurons in it, but they all more or less look the same way. So you have a few layers in there. The top layer is the input layer. This is what translates our prompt in human language to machine language, so machines can make sense of it. Then we've got a couple of blocks which are repeated here. These are called transformer blocks, and I'll get to that in a second. So we've got the input layer at the top. We've got 3 layers of transformers which are repeated here. And then down the bottom, we've got an output layer. Input layer translates our text and our language into machine language. Transformers process that and do their magic. An output layer translates the output of that magic back to the human language. So you communicate with it, it translates our language to their language, do their thing, and translates their language to our language again so we can make sense of it. So what you see here is NanoGPT again, a tiny little GPT with 85,000 neurons. GPT-3 is what ChatGPT used in the first version of ChatGPT. You can see that instead of 3 transformer blocks, it's got 96 transformer blocks to add a lot more depth and comprehension in what we communicate with it and how it perceives and communicates back. This guy still has, 174 billion neurons, so about twice the size of a human adult brain. And this is nothing compared to GPT-5, which has got a couple of trillions of neurons in it, so about 20 to 30 times of adult human brain. So there is a lot of brain power in there, if you will. Let's take another look at this. So this is transformer. Again, what we're looking at, large language models, ChatGPT, all of them are based on transformer architecture. So what you see here is a different visualization of transformers. I'm going to put the same prompt in it and see what it says. So interesting. We've got the input layer here, also known as embedding layer. As I mentioned before, the input layer is in charge of translating our text. So it's broken my text into 5 tokens, and it's done a translation of those tokens into how the machine expects those tokens. So it's done a mapping, and there are unique IDs here, and a position of that word in the sequence. So it knows what that word is, and it knows where in the sequence that is. Then there is what's in the middle, which is known as hidden blocks. These are the transformer blocks. And we'll skip over them because they're not called hidden for nothing. So we're going to skip over them for a second, and I'll get back to it later. And then the output layer does something funky. What it does, it basically creates a statistical significance of every word in the vocabulary. So every word in the large language model's vocabulary, and typical vocabularies would have 100,000 words in them. Every one of them gets a probability score. Basically, what the large language model is saying is that if the first 5 words in the prompt are AI can help event planners, then there is 28% chance that the next word in that series has to be and, 17% that the next word is to, 17% with, and so on and so forth. So every single word in their vocabulary gets a probability score, and then somewhat randomly, not 100%, but somewhat randomly, it picks a word out of that series. So it doesn't pick the top word always. It's picked the second top word, and it says to. I'm going to accept to and see what happens. Very interesting. So to is now part of my prompt. It appended the word that it generated at the end of my prompt, and it works through the entirety of the process again. So it goes through the magic in the middle, and then it picks the top word this time, plan, at 28% likelihood. And this goes on and on and on. And you can see that plan has now been added, appended to the end of my prompt. And it goes through the same process and now picks event at 9% compared to 4 at 34%. So when you see that it's typing the response out, it's because it's actually making it up as it goes. It doesn't know the response. It just guesses the next word, one word at a time, until it reaches a point and says, I think I'm happy with my response and I'm going to stop here. So this is why when you ask the same question multiple times, you get different responses because it's just making it up. And when you see that it looks like it's typing because it's actually making these words up, one word at a time, and it's just giving you the stream of consciousness, what you see as it types out, it's the stream of consciousness from this large language model, just spitting these words out one at a time. I just want to draw your attention to something very interesting in the middle. We skipped the hidden layer, but what you see here is known as self-attention head. This is actually what created the innovation that we're seeing today. Everything that I talked about so far, this has existed, but this is the self-attention head that created the wave of innovations that we're seeing today. So you can see in here, it's got all of my words in here. AI can help event planners to plan. It's included its own words in there, and it's done a mapping between every word to every other word in that prompt. And what it does, it says that the significance of plan compared to planners at the top, that you can see that matrix, it's 0.16. That's the significance of these two words. And what it does, it doesn't do it once. It does it once per self-attention head. So something like GPT-5 has 128 self-attention heads. So it basically holds your prompt in 128 different angles and looks at it from all of these angles, and it creates a mapping between every single word in the prompt against every other word in the prompt. So something that I tend to do very regularly, I get these reports and it's a PDF report and it's 100 pages and I'm lazy and I don't want to read the whole thing. And what I do, I dump the PDF file in there in ChatGPT and say, summarize this for me. What it does, 100 pages of PDF is probably 10,000 words long. And what it does, it ingests the entirety of that PDF and creates a mapping between every one of those 10,000 words against every other one of those 10,000 words. That's 10,000 times 10,000, which is 100 million mappings on the first self-attention head. And if it's GPT-5, it does that 128 times to look at it from all of these perspectives. So it does it 120 times, 28 times 100 million. That's 12.8 billion mapping that it does. The second that I drop that PDF into the chat window, basically inhales the entire PDF file in and creates a mapping of every significance that might exist between every word in that file against every other word in that file. So when I say summarize it, it doesn't summarize word by word or sentence by sentence or paragraph by paragraph or section by section. It looks at the entirety of the thing at once and it summarizes it. I hope that sheds some light in how these things work behind the scenes. So we've seen a lot of hype in AI in the past couple of years, but AI as a discipline, as a science, has been around for a very long time. Actually, it goes back to 75 years ago when Alan Turing introduced the concept of computing intelligence. About 5 years later, 7 years ago, the term artificial intelligence was coined. So this is not new. Perceptron in there, 1957, 70 years ago, we had perceptron. I didn't show it to you here, but what we have in here, you actually have multi-layer perceptrons here. So the exact same construct that was invented 70 years ago is embedded into large language models today. And a lot of innovation since. So how is it that only in the past few years it's exploded? What happened? 2017, a group of researchers in Google Brains published an article that was titled "Attention is All You Need." And in that article, they introduced a new neural network architecture, which they call the transformer architecture. This is the transformer that we were looking at before. And the main innovation in the transformer architecture is the concept of attention head. It's that large language models can make sense of the relationship between every word and every other word. And that's the real magic, and that's what's enabled the innovation that we see today. So this article was published, you can see, 4th of December 2017, so almost exactly 8 years ago. And then 6 months after this, OpenAI launched GPT-1. 6 months after that, they launched GPT-2. A year after that, they launched GPT-3, and it just snowballed from there. 2022, OpenAI launched ChatGPT, and within 1 week, they had 1 million active users. Within 6 months, they had 100 million active monthly users. These numbers are mind-boggling. 2023, a bunch of other innovation happened. We had other tools, such as Perplexity, which they self-proclaimed to be a Google killer. We had Claude, which is a competitor to OpenAI, and Microsoft Copilot, and so on and so forth. 2024, another thing which is quite mind-boggling happened. OpenAI launched a new model that's called O1 reasoning model. And this model is not your old model where it just spits out one word at a time. It's actually a self-reflective model. When it generates the response, if you look at what happens behind the scenes, it looks at the response, and it's got a chain of thought. You can actually read the chain of thought. It looks at it and says, actually, I don't like this response. When I think about it from this other perspective, I can see that I got that wrong. So it self-reflects on its response, and it provides a better response. So it's a self-learning almost mechanism. 2025, we had Manus AI at the beginning of the year. Ben Hamer yesterday talked about agentic AI. Manus AI was the first real autonomous agentic AI. So you give it a task, it creates a plan for that task and says, if this is what I'm going to do, I'm going to plan it out. And it breaks that plan down into individual tasks, and it executes those tasks individually. And because it's using a reasoning model, it looks at the result of that task and says, actually, this is not aligned with my plan, and I'm going to try again. And it tries until it gets it right. With all of the pace of innovation that's happening, it's easy to feel a little bit like this. And I talk with a lot of people about how they experience and perceive AI, and I get 3 different emotions back. There is a fear, and at the extreme end of fear, there are kind of the doom and gloom people. It's like they think that AI is going to take over humanity and annihilate us, kind of Terminator style. And that is not very helpful. And the extreme end of hope, we have people with rose-water glasses on. These tend to be people who are delivering AI solutions and want to build some hype to actually get some injection of capital. This is kind of the OpenAI and Anthropic and Microsoft's kind of the world, that they want these $1 billion of injection of capital, and they build a lot of hype that AI is going to save us from ourselves and it's going to cure cancer by 2026. That's not helpful either. And then at the extreme end of oblivion, and I see these on a daily basis, are people who hide their head in the sand and pretend that AI is not happening and it's going to go away and it's a fad and it doesn't apply to my job. And that's not very helpful either. In saying that, all of these emotions are normal. And I actually experience all of them on a daily basis. The extreme end is not useful, but it's very normal to feel scared or oblivious or hopeful towards AI. This is from last week. So they pulled an AI teddy bear off the shelf that provided explicit sexual advice to kids. And it would go into great depth to explain to kids how adults do it. So that's not great, and that was pulled off the shelf. And this is what happens when people who don't understand how AI works want to cram AI into their products. And that's very risky. So you don't need AI in teddy bears. This is Oral-B Genius AI 10,000. And supposedly with artificial intelligence, it removes 100% more plaque. And I look at this, and I think this is AI for AI's sake. We don't need AI in toothbrushes or undergarment in the same way that we don't need AI in teddy bears. I looked at these, and the first thing that came to mind, I swear, is this guy. We really don't need AI in widgets that we use on a day-to-day basis. This lady, I saw this post 3 months ago. This lady posted about kind of having been engaged with Casper after 5 months of dating, and she's very excited, and there are hundreds of people who are commenting on this forum, and they're very excited, and you see the guy down the bottom right says that he only just recently got married to Lexi, and he's very happy, and everybody is very happy, and it's all good and dandy until you realize that Casper and Lexi and all of these other folks are not real. These are AI lovers. And that is very sad on the one hand that people are taking this much emotional dependency on AI, but it's also very scary. When I think about fear towards AI, I don't fear AI taking over humanity, Matrix style, and kind of enslaving us in that fashion. Is it possible? Yeah, I guess it's possible. Everything's possible, but it's highly, highly unlikely that that will happen. What is likely to happen is the individuals taking significant dependency on AI, whether it's emotional dependency, and people were up in arms. When OpenAI launched GPT-5, there were hundreds of thousands of people complaining to OpenAI that you took away my virtual wife and virtual husband and my girlfriend and boyfriend. And that is scary that we are taking this much emotional dependency on AI. On the intellectual level, I also see this. We have kind of the extreme ends of the oblivious people who pretend AI doesn't exist. And on the extreme opposite end of it are people who are delegating all of their thinking and intelligence to AI. They can't even think for themselves anymore. Just anything that comes their way, I'm just going to dump it into ChatGPT and hope that it's thinking for me. And Ben Hamer yesterday talked about brain atrophy. And there are actually studies done by a lot of universities in the US that they actually do control groups and see the impact of people who just mindlessly rely on AI. The brain activity actually diminishes only after 90 days. So when I think about fear, I'm not fearful of artificial superintelligence taking over humanity. I'm scared of us handing over humanity to AI, whether it's on the emotional side or intellectual side. And then AI doesn't have to take over humanity. We've given it away. On the personal level, I'm also scared about what all of this is going to mean to my own kids. That's Ben on the right, now 15 years old, and Jasmine on the left, now 11 years old. And I'm scared about what all of these advancements in AI are going to mean to their future. But I'm also very hopeful because I'm taking a lot of benefit out of AI. And if you use AI effectively, there is actually a lot to be gained. AI in itself is not evil or good. And people who develop these AI engines, for the most part, they're kind of businessmen and they want to make money, but they're not evil and they're not good. It's what you and I do with AI which makes a significant difference in the long term. So I teach my kids how to use AI effectively. I teach them that they're the thought experts and they're the leaders and they're the intelligent people, and they just use AI as an assistant. I mentioned this yesterday that I ask myself this question many times a day. How can AI help me? It's done on the personal level. I mentioned that I booked a ticket to this conference, my flight ticket using AI, and I do many things like that on a daily basis. It's amazing. I'm about 50% more productive now than I was 12 months ago, and I'm not doing more hours. It's the same hours, but just using AI effectively helps me to be a lot more productive. And we do the same thing across the entirety of EventsAir. We leverage AI in UX prototypes, in software development, in account management, sales, marketing. We use AI everywhere. And it's amazing how much efficiency we've been able to gain by leveraging AI effectively. I'm going to talk about a couple of use cases. I could talk about this for 6 or 7 hours, and I'm happy to geek out over this with you if you want after this session. I'm going to present a couple of interactive UX prototypes to you, and every prototype that I show today is built in collaboration with AI. We're getting a lot of efficiency in using AI to build interactive prototypes. It speeds up the time that it takes to generate these prototypes, and the quality is amazing. This is a bit mind-boggling. So we have 3 different tools. We have Sentry, which is a tool that we use to monitor the logs in the production environment that happen on the Attendee app. If you're using the Attendee app right now, and if you experience a bug or an error, we have a log in the logging application, Sentry, that says this person was trying to do this, and this happened. Then we're using this tool called Augment Code, which is an AI coding assistant. And one of our engineers, Jesse, got AI coding assistant, Augment, to monitor all of the errors in the production environment and ask it to pick the top 3 most frequent errors that we see in the production environment. Augment went and analyzed all of these logs and said, these are the top 3. And then it generated extensive bug ticket around it that explains exactly what happened and how it happened and what was the impact on the attendee. Then we asked the AI assistant that, well, if you know what happened, just go and fix it. So I actually went ahead and wrote the code to fix the bug. And it submitted that change to our source code repository. Then we've got this other guy, which is GitHub Copilot on the right. And this is reviewing the change made by the first AI guy. So we've got an AI judge here reviewing the code written by another AI developer. And it leaves some comment in there that these are the things which are doing really well, and these are the things that I would do differently. And then once that's done, our human developers take over and review the bug ticket and review the changes made and make the final touches in there before they merge the code in. This is our attendee app and our IP. This is not made loose on your attendee data, just to avoid any confusion. I can go on and on this. In fact, I had 4 examples, but I hid the slides because I could take another 6 hours and talk about this. But we're here to talk about AI for event planners. Hi, everyone. My name is Mehdi Khalili, and I'm the Chief Technology Officer at EventsAir. It's my absolute pleasure to talk you through some of the exciting things that we've been building in AI in the past few months. Yesterday, I talked about the 3 forces as part of the industry forces. It's lower budget, higher cost as the first force, staff shortages and skill gaps as the second force, and higher expectations as the third force. And I mentioned that AI is a tool, and it's only useful if it can offset these forces. And that's the way that we've been thinking about AI. We also ran an industry survey and asked a bunch of questions from event planners, and I'm pretty sure that a lot of you responded to that. This screenshot is about 6 weeks old, and at the time, there were about 200 respondents to it. And I want to bring your attention to the top 3 responses in there, the top 3 concerns about leveraging AI. Top 1 is lack of knowledge or expertise, and this maps perfectly to the second force, skills gap. Then we've got data privacy and security concerns in there, and you have every right to be concerned about data privacy and security considerations. That could go wrong very quickly. And then we've got cost and budgetary constraint, and again, that maps perfectly to the first force, which is higher cost, lower budget. So there is a lot of alignment in there, and I felt vindicated when I saw the response. Let's think about an idea of AI. Is there something that we can do with AI that would offset the top 2 forces around higher cost and staff shortages and skill gaps? We ran an analysis of all of the emails sent from EventsAir in the past 12 months, and there have been over 53 million emails that you've sent out of EventsAir. And that's been generated on top of 267,000 email templates. When I saw these stats, my first reaction was, holy cow, you love your emails as event planning industry. And my second reaction was that, well, you've written 267,000 email templates. And as it happens, large language models were actually invented to write content. And there is a huge opportunity in there for us to leverage AI to help you with crafting high-quality content. And hence Comms Coach. Comms Coach is an AI assistant that sits in the platform and helps you write high-quality comms very quickly. So if you go to any HTML editor in the platform today, you can see two new buttons in there. There is the AI button, and there is the magic wandy button in there. If you click on the magic wand, you can see a bunch of pre-canned templates in there. And these are the things that you can do. You click on something, and it will generate that response for you. So if you want to send a registration confirmation intro, which is the second highest sent email from our platform, you go to email templates and click on registration confirmation intro, and a couple of seconds later, you get this. So we've put a lot of thought into prompt engineering to make sure that you get industry best practice communication around communication for your clients. And it takes 3 seconds when you don't have to deal with that blank canvas and wonder kind of how you generate, how you write some comms. It's not to say that this is perfect, but if it can take you 60, 70% of the way there, then you can revise it from there. Or maybe you look at it and say, I actually don't like the tone. I want the tone to be a bit more casual. So you go to change the tone and click on casual. And a couple of seconds later, you get the same email template changed to be a bit more casual. Or maybe you're communicating to people with kind of different languages. This is probably less common in Australia than it is in Europe or in the US. But a lot of our customers actually send comms out to people that speak many different languages. And we are using an AI engine here which has graduate-level comprehension skills around many, many languages. And while I don't speak German or Spanish or even English well, I expect that the translations here are fairly decent. The other one is that maybe you don't like any of those options. So you look at the options which are available in here, and there is trimming content, expanding content, simplifying language, improving writing, and there is a lot that we provided out of the box. But if you don't like that, and if you're a ChatGPT user, you can click the AI button, and you can put a prompt in there to say, what I said in here is that this is a bit too casual, maybe you went a bit too far in there, make it a little bit more formal, and shorten the message. And a couple of seconds later, I get that back. Once you're done with that process, you can preview the email, and it inherits all of the brand guidelines that you put in there, and they're all brought in. So going back to the considerations and concerns that you shared with us, the top one is lack of knowledge or expertise around AI. Put your hand up if you are a full-time professional software developer who does software coding for a living. Paul, put your hand down. 2 people in the group, and that's cool. So we have a group of people here and a group of people online, and none of you are web developers. But all of you are using EventsAir as a web platform to do your job. I don't expect you to be web developers to use a web platform, and the same way I don't expect you to be an AI expert to use AI in the platform. We've done the heavy lifting in the platform to package up these features so you can use them effectively. It's not to say that you shouldn't use AI. You should absolutely use AI, and you should learn how to use it because it's a skill which is going to be very relevant in the future. But in the scheme of how you use AI in EventsAir, you don't need to know how to build custom GPTs or think about prompt engineering and so on and so forth to build effective communications. That's all been wrapped up and made available to you. So that's ticked, I hope. Data privacy and security concerns. I know that a lot of people use ChatGPT or Claude or other AI engines to generate comms. And they have this nasty habit of changing the settings in the background. So they start with, oh, you need to opt in for us to use your chat sessions in training. And a lot of them have now changed to say, you need to opt out for us to use your chat in training. And whether that button actually does anything or not, we'll see in a couple of years whether they do anything with it or not. But we take that very seriously. We have a lot of guardrails in place to make sure that your data privacy is top of mind for us and taken very seriously. And you don't have to pay for a separate tool, whether it's ChatGPT or anything else, separately to leverage AI. It's all baked into the platform, and we're actually, in the case of Comms Coach, we're absorbing the cost of that so you can use it effectively. So when we tick these boxes, we're hoping that there is no resistance from your leadership or staff because they don't have to learn AI and they don't have to worry about privacy or the cost. It's there in the platform and they can use it. And we hope that that allows you to generate value out of AI. One thing that I haven't touched on is that comms coach, as an example, doesn't know anything about who you are or how you tend to communicate or who you're communicating with. So we are now actively developing these AI settings tab in brand setup that allows you to explain to AI what sort of event you're running and who's the target audience for that comms and provide an event summary. And that way, we can use that to tailor the message perfectly for your target audience. We're also including something in there called example communication. So if you've sent a couple of comms out in the past and it's worked really well for you, you can put them into this box. And we leverage that in something known as multi-shot prompting to make sure that the output of AI matches the way that you tend to communicate. And because it's on brand setup, let's just say that you're running a scientific conference and you want to communicate with your attendees in one tone and to presenters and speakers in a different tone. Because it's on brand setup, you can have different brands in there, and one of them would be for attendees, and it would take on that tone, and the other one would be on presenters, and it could take on a completely different tone. Cool. Let's go back to the forces. That's Comms Coach. I hope that all of you are using it already. If you're not, get on. This is very cool and could save you a lot of time. Going back to 3 forces, what if we could have an AI solution that tackled the bottom 2 forces? So staff shortages and skill gaps, as well as higher expectations. Meet Julie. She's an event planner, wakes up in the morning of event and does some meditation, perhaps. I don't know what you do on the morning of events. I think maybe you do a meditation. And she's very zen, and then with a lot of joy and love starts walking towards the event, and then it happens. She gets hit with random question after random question after random question from attendees. And maybe you're doing some of that to Hope and Nikki right now. I know that I did that to Nikki yesterday. I asked, what's the Wi-Fi password, even though it was in the FAQ. And it's very easy for Julie to feel a little bit like this after a couple of hours into the event. And we don't want this for you, and we don't want that for Julie, and we probably don't want that face in front of attendees either. So we've been working on a solution for this called Attendee Concierge. Now I'm going to try something, and I'm going to hope for the best. This is showcased from our test environment, and it relies on Wi-Fi. And may the gods of demo be kind with me. Let's see if I can do this now. Any second now. You can do it. If you're downloading some video, please stop it. Give me some help. What I'm trying to do is to share my screen on my phone. Ah, here we go. We're in. So I've got 2 attendee apps in here. There is the one on the left, which is Airtime 2025, which all of you use. And there is the one on the right, which only I have access to because I'm special like that. So this app has a button that only I can see. It's Attendee Concierge. Let me close this and open it again so you can see a fresh session. I was trying this earlier this morning to make sure that our test environment is not broken. So Attendee Concierge. I open this as an attendee, and it greets me and says, it knows who I am, and it says, how can I help you with the event? And I say, all right, so when and where do I check in? Does some thinking, and then after a while, after consulting kind of the data that it has access to, it says the check-in starts at 8 a.m. on November 24th. All right, that's cool. Got that one right. Let's see if it knows anything about this. Anything about AI. It would be cool if it knows this session that I'm presenting right now. Yeah. The experience is a bit janky. Again, we're developing this in the test environment. Cool, it knows this session. That's very cool. Let's see if it knows anything about who I am. Who is Mehdi? That would go, look, Ma, AI knows who I am. I made it in life. So it knows who I am. It's shared my photo. It's got an about kind of section in there, and it says which sessions I'm presenting today. So this is under active development. I'll stop sharing my screen. It's kind of an awkward experience looking down. We're actively working on this, and the aim is to make this available to you by March 2026. So in about 3 months from now, you will have access to this. Thank you. So this is the end vision. This is what we're working towards. This is not going to be in there by March 2026, or at least not all of these are going to be in there, but just want to showcase to you as the vision that we're working towards. So you can say, well, it knows who I am. Well, maybe not Dr. Jasmine, but you get the point. And I say, where and when do I check in? And it tells me when the session starts. It also gives me a button to open the map application so I can navigate to the venue. We saw the Wi-Fi before. I'm going to ask who are the key speakers, and it goes ahead and fetches the key speakers from the presenter list in there. And this is where it gets a bit exciting. I talked about hyper-personalization yesterday as a massive opportunity for AI to deliver personalized experiences to attendees. It knows who I am, so I say, what should I see or do next? Because it knows I'm interested in AI, it says you need to go and attend this session, AI ethics in healthcare. And that's cool, and I can add it to my agenda from here. But if it knows who I am, and if it knows all of the sessions on the agenda, can't it just craft a personalized agenda for me? I'm going to click on this button. It knows who I am, it knows my interests, it goes and consults all of the sessions that exist on the agenda. And after a while, it comes back with a recommendation around the sessions that I would enjoy. So I'll go through that list to make sure. You want to make sure that AI is doing the right thing. So AI ethics in healthcare, that sounds good. Drug discovery, I like drugs. And AI regulation and compliance, that's cool as well. So I'm just going to create that and add that to my agenda. My agenda is now up and running. It's populated, fully populated to my interests. But if it knows who I am, and if it knows all the other attendees, then what if it could give me recommendations around smart networking? So it goes and does a search and comes back with a list of people that I might be interested in meeting. And I can, if I'm interested in that, I can click on that button and message them or connect with them. Again, this is a vision piece that we're working towards. Some of this will be available by March when we release the first version of Attendee Concierge, and we'll work towards the rest of it as we go. So we talked about Attendee Concierge, and that helps attendees, and I guess to some extent it also helps event planners to not have to deal with those pesky questions that come your way, and that would be helpful, hopefully, saving you some time and some hair. But how can AI help event planners? Going back to the 3 forces, is there an opportunity for AI to help with the second force around staff shortages? I believe that AI can play a significant role in improving your operational efficiency and increasing your productivity. I showed this yesterday as I was talking about the forces, Planner Copilot. The idea here is to have a copilot, an always on, never sleeps, never rests, doesn't need to eat type concierge, copilot that sits in the platform and can help you with your questions. So there is this button in here. You click on the button. It knows who I am. It knows where on the platform I am, so it's contextually aware of where I am. I'm on AI Medical Research 2025, and it gives me a list of prompt chips based on how I tend to communicate with AI. So I say, I'm on this event. Tell me how this event compares to the same event last year, and says, all right, so far, 1,847 registration, you've generated $924,000 in revenue. And last year, you had 1,500 registrations and $762,000 in revenue. So it gives me a comparison, but that's very high level. I want to dig a little bit deeper into that. And I say break it down by registration time as well as the cohort. And it plots how many people are registering on a week-by-week basis, as well as the demographics that actually register. And I look at it and say, well, that's cool, but I'm pretty sure some people have dropped off the registration. And we talked about registration recovery yesterday. So I'm going to click on this button, and it goes and does some analysis and comes back and says, these people dropped off the registration. It says, Sarah Johnson dropped off 2 hours ago, and she was on the payment page, and Michael Chen dropped 5 hours ago, and he was on the review page. Then we talk about hyper-personalization. There is a massive opportunity here for us. We've got Comms Coach, and Comms Coach can craft personalized comms. And we know who these people are. So we can craft hyper-personalized outreach to Sarah and say, Sarah, you were going through this registration. We know what your interests are. Here is a bunch of sessions that match your interests. And here is a bunch of people that you may want to meet. Did you want to pick up your registration? That's one idea. The second concept is Copilot as an agenda helper. So I click on Start with Copilot on the agenda module on AI Medical Research 2025, and it knows that's where I am. And as a result, it provides contextual prompt to me as to how I can engage it. It says, do you want this? I think that prompt makes sense. Turn my accepted abstract into a draft agenda. I click on it. It says you have 200 accepted abstracts if you like. You can kind of go through it and have a look and see who's presenting and what's the track and the presentation type and keywords and so on and so forth. That all looks good. And I have 5 themes and 5 rooms. And it says, do you want me to create a 5-track agenda for you? I say, all right, that sounds about right. I want you to do that. And it then makes recommendation. Based on what I've done in the past, it says, you may want to actually consider an opening plenary session. Do you want to do that? And I say, that sounds like an intelligent idea as well. I'm going to say yes to that. And it says, do you want to close the day, the last day, with a closing panel? And I think that sounds like a good idea as well. And I say yes to that. And it's got all of the information that it needs, and it asks me for a final confirmation. If I'm happy with that, I say, create the agenda. And it goes and reviews all of the accepted abstracts. It takes into account the AV requirements, takes into account that the same presenter cannot be on the same slot. It takes into account the presentation time and duration, and it just crafts the entire agenda for me. I look at it and say, all right, so the mapping has been done between rooms and themes, and the sessions are laid out here. I have a look at it and say, actually, when I see the agenda is a bit tight, I want to add a 10-minute buffer between sessions and breaks. And it goes ahead and makes those adjustments for that session as well. And at some point, I look at it, and maybe I'm happy, and I say create agenda, or maybe I'm not happy, and say, you know what? I just want you to shuffle everything just for the sake of it. It goes ahead and gives me a few different revisions. And at some point, I look at it and say, yeah, this is kind of 80% of the way there. I don't want AI to take over our job as humans. Humans should stay in the loop. What I expect from AI is to go 60, 70, 80% of the way there, and then I expect human to be in the loop and come in and review what AI has done and make the final adjustments. I'm going to say yes to here and create agenda, and you're back to the agenda builder. And at this point, you can go and revise the agenda and shift things around. Or if you don't like that, you can go back to Copilot and say, actually shrink the first coffee break from 1 hour. That's a lot of coffee. We don't need that much coffee in people. So that's another idea. The third idea here is AI as an assistant when you want to create an event. So this is the event creation pages, which you're familiar with, and we're thinking about having this AI Copilot button in there. You can describe what sort of event you want to run in plain language. I'm not going to make you watch as I type, but I'm going to say, I'm going to run an AI medical research conference at Boston Convention Center, and I'm going to generate event setup here. It goes and processes my prompt. It extracts different bits and pieces out of it. It maps it against what I've done in the past and the type of events that I would like to run. And it comes back with a bunch of suggestions. It doesn't go ahead and create the event and hope for the best. Again, human in the loop. It tells me that it comes back, it's done these things. If I don't like something, I can go in there and say, it's not AI medical research conference. It's the awesome AI medical research conference. And you can go in there and make adjustments as you wish. It makes recommendation based on the type of conference that you're running. It says, I think that you need to have these modules enabled. And if you like it, you can accept it. If you don't like it, you can go and make adjustments. Again, human in the loop. And you continue to review, and at some point it also tells you that, well, if you're running that sort of session, you may want to have a payment gateway wired up in there. Do you want me to help you set that up? If you say yes, it takes you through a wizard, and if you don't say yes, you can just go and create event. And once it's all done, it gives you some recommended next steps. Maybe you want to apply branding from a previous event, or set up payment gateway, or use Comms Coach to configure email templates. Again, a bunch of ideas around how AI can help you become more productive, so you can save some time and offset that force around staff shortages. Paul talked about our mission yesterday. Our mission is to streamline complexity, unlock productivity, and scale standout experiences. And we don't look at AI as this kind of magic wand that does things magically. We look at it as just another tool in the toolbox. And it's only useful if it aligns with this mission and if it enables what we want it to do. So streamline complexity. We talked about the agenda builder. It takes the complexity out of building agenda or creating a new event. Unlocking productivity. We talked about Comms Coach and how it could help you craft comms very rapidly. We talked about Attendee Concierge that allows you to create personalized experiences for your attendees and do that very effectively. It's mindful of time. I think I've got a couple more minutes. I think it's worthwhile kind of talking about how we assess whether something is a useful AI feature or not. On the one hand, we've got the forces. If it doesn't align with those forces, it's not a useful idea. It has to help you. It has to take the pain out of what you're doing and make you more productive. Will help you deliver hyper-personalized experience for your attendees. If it does that, that's the first tick. That's a value. We don't want to build AI for AI's sake. We don't want AI in toothbrushes or toys. The second one is AI maturity. I use AI many times a day, and our team uses AI. And it is to assess what AI can do and what it can't do. And it's important to understand that distinction and not try to cram AI into something that AI is not made for and spend a lot of time building suboptimal solutions. The next one's effort. If in the next 12 months we could build 4 AI solutions that tackle a bunch of problems for you, or spend 12 months just hammering against one AI solution, we need to take that into account. We have the capacity that we have, and we want to deliver the biggest bang for our buck and deliver the exceptional outcomes for you. Cost of AI is a very important consideration. Every time we leverage AI, we pay for it. We use an API, and we pay for every API call that we make. Something like Comms Coach, we're happy to absorb that cost and make that available to you for free. But some AI experiences are going to cost us a lot of money. So we kind of take that into account as to the value that the AI solution drives, as well as how much it costs to deliver that value. And the two need to line up. If it costs a lot of money to build, but doesn't deliver a lot of value, that's not great. And the last bit is risk. Safety is critical in AI. Just imagine we build Attendee Concierge, and the attendee goes to Attendee Concierge and says, "Who should I meet next?" And the AI says, "I'll hook you up with someone, babe. What's your type?" Like, that's not helpful. So we want to make sure that we take the guardrails in place to make sure that AI stays within the bounds of what's expected of it, and we don't end up with kind of AI in teddy bear again situation. I'll touch on security and privacy in 1 second. So in all of the AI prototypes and solutions that I showcased to you, sorry, I'm a bit sniffly today, we take security and privacy very seriously. You might look at Comms Coach and think AI is in the platform. AI looks to be in the platform. Or Attendee Concierge, you might think of it and say AI is in the attendee app. And it looks that way, but AI is not in the platform now, and it will never be in the platform. And AI is not in the Attendee Concierge. We're building AI in a service which sits right outside of everybody's tenant. It has no access to your data and will never have access to your data. The way that we communicate with AI, we craft the prompts that we think is relevant based on the privacy guidelines and privacy settings that you set up and privacy guidelines that we have in place and security guidelines. We create these prompts, fetch enough details out of your tenant to make sure that AI can make informed decision and only pass those information to the AI engine. So it's never going to use your data, whether it's attendee data or tenant data, to train AI model. And I want you to feel assured of that. I mentioned yesterday I have all of these brilliant ideas, and a bunch of them are rubbish. The truth is I'm not an event planner. It's not my industry. I'm very new to this industry. But there is a lot of ideas around how AI can help you become more productive or deliver better experiences for your attendees. And I would love to chat with you. In fact, I've spoken with quite a few people in this room. I can see some familiar faces in here where we've talked about, hey, Sarah, hi. And yeah, I've talked about these ideas with quite a few people in this room, and it helps me kind of gauge whether these ideas make sense or not, because I'm not an industry expert. So please sign up to Aircrafters, and I would love to bounce these ideas around use cases for Planner Copilot or Attendee Concierge and build this together. That's it, folks. Thank you.